Guess who got a soundboard, bitches? This is Mike Booth coming to you from Super City.
Noise!
I got a lot of response from my first episode and some helpful tips from those in the know, so I'm going to use that to keep the ball rolling with episode 2, Mike Booth Boogaloo.
Oh yeah!
I also found a guy who lets you use music for free. All you've got to do is credit him, so his info will be in the thing. Check him out, he's a gentleman and a scholar for sure. Oh, and by the by, I want to dedicate today's broadcast to the villain Shock Jockey, who is currently recovering at Super City Medical. He heard the first episode and thought, hey, here's the friend of two heroes, I'll capture him and use him as bait. What he didn't know is that we figured something like that might happen, so Sir Larpin left me a cubic crap ton of enchanted stuff to defend myself with, including a few things that aren't actually explosive. Better luck next time, Shocky. Better luck next time. Also, I'll be sending you the bill to fix my apartment. You can make it out to Mike Booth, wielder of objects, miscellaneous, and terrible. And to any other supervillains who think I might be an easy target, just think how hard it's gonna be for old Jockstrap to live down having his ass handed to him by a guy with a weaponized toilet bowl cleaner. You got that mental image in your head? Good, keep it there because it's important. So, okay guys, holy shit. I did not expect my inbox to blow up like this. I guess my broadcast reaches a little further than just the city, because I got questions from all around the whole freaking world. I got way more questions than I can actually deal with all at once, so I'm gonna have to pick some of the best ones and sprinkle them throughout the show. This should also help pad out my time, so hey, everybody wins. Now, as we go on to the first question, I have to say, I did not realize how many people knew so little about Super City. Some of this seems like pretty common knowledge stuff to me, so I'll try to address them with the minimum amount of condescension and cape-worshipping snootiness. You'll have to forgive me if I end up going into too much detail or if any of this is a retread for my Super City listeners, but I just love talking about cape stuff. I was kind of a superhero, supervillain nerd growing up, and so I know way too much about some of these guys, but I'm going to try to keep it to the bare essentials as much as I can. So on to our first big question. Who are the major players in Super City? Now this is kind of a big one, so stay with me. The biggest name of all is probably Felix Silver, who funded and governed Super City Prime and helped create several of the other Super Cities worldwide after the Year of Hell. But I'm also guessing you don't want to know about an admittedly awesome politician slash bureaucrat slash obscenely wealthy man. You probably want to know about the main superheroes and supervillains here in my fine little city. Now, the three big hero teams are the Cornerstone 5, the Celestials, and the Doctors Needful. I'll go into the Cornerstone 5 first because they're kind of the most important to the city. Starting off, we've got Rodney Nathaniel Timothy Lord, also known as Rodent Lord. Now, he's called that because he signs his name Rod N.T. Lord, so written out it kind of looks like Rodent Lord. However, he doesn't actually have any known powers. I'm sure people on the Cornerstone 5 and people close to them could verify whether or not he has them, but if he does, he's keeping it close to the vest, because on all official documents says he does not have any. However, it's rumored he can talk to rats and other vermin of the like, and that he uses this as a network of spies and to weed out dissenters and stuff. And this is important because a couple years ago, he completely took over the criminal underbelly of Super City and made it as respectable as possible. Of course, he did this through violence, deceit, and murder, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. He's rich and ruthless as hell, and considered to be a bit off by some people. But he's also brutally fair in a strange way. Like, if he knows that you're selling drugs in his turf at a school, he'll break your legs, but not because you sold drugs on his turf, because you sold drugs at a school. He's really big on sort of a ethical approach to crime, if that makes any sense. Physically, he's a little on the short side, but a tick above average looking. He used to be a famous criminal prosecutor, but decided that making criminals behave while they commit crime was going to be a better use of his time than punishing them after the fact. He's basically the reason crime is so relatively nice in the city. There's very few murders in Super City, and a lot of it's thanks to him. Moving on, we've got one of the more out-of-this-world members of the team, Liaison, aka the Ambassador. She is actually a female diplomat from an intelligent alien federation that wants to recruit Earth into its vast network of planets. Unfortunately, when she came here, a sweeping galactic war hit her species and knocked out all of their faster-than-light travel. So she's kinda stuck here with us for now. While she's here, she's decided that she's going to help us stay in a good enough condition that we can actually join once they get the faster-than-light transporters back up. And so she's been doing what she can to make sure that we all stay alive. Now, it's kind of hard to describe what she looks like physically, but it's important to get that before I go into her powers, because her biology kind of is her power. So, you have to kind of imagine a 4-legged table with like a full body-sized vase on top. Now, I know that sounds strange, but the vase top thing is vaguely humanoid looking, and she has these 6 retractable arms that come in and out of the body and allow her to use her weapons, which, as I said, kind of fit into her biology because her weapon system is actually alive. Like, all of the things she uses are machines that use biological components. So they act like little gizmos and gadgets and whatnot, but all the insides are gooey. And it's kind of gross to look at, honestly, but she's really cool. She's very laid back. She's probably one of the more chill members of the team from what I've seen in the newsreels and stuff. Aside from that, she's got sort of a sixth sense ability that lets her kind of read auras, get a sense for what kind of person someone is. I think she can speak all languages, but that's never really been confirmed. That's more of those theories that floats around, but I think that makes sense for being an ambassador. Moving on to tomorrow and out past today, we've got Fargus Flung, also known as Tomorrow Man, also known as Mr. September for people who subscribe to a certain less than reputable calendar series. He is a time traveler who came back to our time from the future to meet the ancient hero that he grew up worshipping as a child. However, when he got here, he realized that he was the ancient hero that he was worshipping, so he kind of took to the role and he's been protecting our city ever since. He uses advanced technology and semi-knowledge of the future to help him fight crime. I say semi-knowledge because it's been a couple thousand years between our time and his, and some of the details have gotten fuzzy, and so a lot of times he knows something's gonna happen, but he doesn't always know what. And if he tries to guess, sometimes he's wrong, so they just kind of use him as sort of a general idea of where things might be going. Design-wise, he dresses like a Roman net fighter, which I think is really cool. His helmet looks sort of like a mix between a gladiator helmet and a space helmet. His skin is light blue, and it turns darker the more intense he feels an emotion. And he's got this bright orange hair. Now, he is still human, but he's the one that's confused that we're not that color. Apparently everyone in the future is a bright primary color, and he has no clue what changed between now and then, so something to look forward to, I guess. If you have a color you like, maybe get used to seeing that all the time, because that might be your skin color someday. Weapon-wise, he has these advanced gizmos and gadgets and stuff that let him do short-range teleportation, lasers, enhanced physical abilities, and whatnot. One of my favorites, though, is the anti-entropy bomb, which takes the entropy out of a system. So if you throw it into a dirty room, it gets more orderly. And if you let it off near a bunch of wounded people, their wounds kind of stitch themselves back together. It's really cool to watch. And honestly, I could probably use one for my place because it's getting kind of cramped with all the crap I've got. Ooh, moving on to the spooky member of the team, we've got Baron Kanaloa. He's the last member of a Lost Hawaiian voodoo tribe. You heard that right, Lost Hawaiian voodoo tribe. Now, that may sound ridiculous, but just wait. It gets weirder, spookier, and horrifying. He's got access to incredible magical power and has been known to consort with demons at times. He also has this affinity towards death in the oceans and can sorta control both a little bit. I say sorta because he doesn't talk a whole lot, so it's hard to tell sometimes what's him and what's just the situation at hand. His outfit is also spooky. He wears a hulu skirt made from seaweed and dead octopus tentacles, a dress jacket with no shirt, and a top hat. His face is also tattooed to look like a shark skull, and he's just got all kind of tribal tattoos over the rest of his body. He is super creepy. He flies around on a surfboard made out of an undead shark. An undead shark with glowing red eyes. That is not something I want to see coming at me in a dark alleyway. And the religion that he follows is so complicated, theologists took a look, and they're kind of split. Half of them think he made it up himself, and the other half think that it's a bastardization of some kind of elder god religion. Now, he doesn't talk a whole lot, but when he does, he speaks in this crazy language that no one actually understands. But despite that, everyone knows what he says when he says something, so not sure if that's magic or some sort of ancient primary language from all other languages or something. It's weird and creepy and cool, and he's just not the kind of guy you want to get on the bad side of. The last member of the Cornerstone Five is Empress Earth, also known as Gaia, also known as Her Lady Hedgemone, also known as the Earth Mother. She is the living embodiment of all life on Earth, including things that are extinct. She can shapeshift into any of those things that live here, so she can turn into dinosaurs and whatnot, which I think is infinitely cool. And she can communicate with all forms of life, including, like protozoa and plants and fish and all that kind of stuff you wouldn't think would be able to talk to you. Physically, she looks like a large woman, and I don't mean large as in round, I mean large as in 10 feet tall. She's got antlers, and her whole body's covered in moss and flowers and whatnot to give her this sort of, Gaia Earth Mother look. Some of these names are a little on the nose. What's interesting is that her personality is kind of hard to pin down because she has a very sort of balance-centric view of the world. So she's actually fought some heroes a couple times when they were disturbing what she saw as the natural balance of things. Now, don't get me wrong, 9 times out of 10 she's the hero, but every once in a while the way she thinks and the way other people think just does not match up. Now that's all of the Cornerstone 5, also known as the Big Guns. They were the ones who ended the Year of Hell and became the guardians of the first Super City, Super City Prime, where I live. But just because they're the originals doesn't mean they're the most powerful. Another group called the Celestials has established itself in the past few years, and even though they may not have the same PR that Cornerstone does, they probably win in terms of sheer firepower. Now their shtick is that they're all named after, or themed after, planets and celestial bodies and so on and so forth. Okay, first of all though, Earth Empress pulls double duty. She's a member of the Cornerstone 5 and the Celestials, and she's the Earth representative obviously. However, her son, Average Joe, is a bit of a dark horse in the whole group, because he doesn't actually represent a heavenly body. He symbolizes humanity's universality, or something. That's how they sell it anyway. He's the living embodiment of all humans currently living in the universe, and he's able to mimic the skills of any non-powered person in the universe. So he can have the stamina of an Olympic swimmer, the accuracy of the deadliest sniper, the good looks of whatever movie star is big right now, that kind of thing. Like I said though, there's been a lot of controversy on whether or not he should actually be allowed to be part of the Celestials. But his mom is literally an Earth god, and the implication that there are humans on other planets gives him a bit of leeway in being on the team. You'd think all of this would go to his head, because he's kind of a young guy, but from what I've seen on the interviews and news bits he's been on, he seems pretty laid back, almost a little shy. He seems like the kind of guy I'd want to have a beer with, basically. Now, moving on, we've got Johnny Jupiter, who has gas powers and is super dense. And I don't mean stupid. I mean he leaves footprints in the ground when he walks. He's also able to control that density so he doesn't go slamming through glass panes or other brittle material. He's got this cool thing though where his left eye is missing, and it's been replaced with this swirling eye of gas. His whole backstory is that he went on this amnesiac quest, like you see with a lot of heroes, to find out who he was. However, after a while of searching, he found out that he didn't have any memories to recover. He's actually a golem made from a piece of an asteroid that was recovered on Jupiter, and so he didn't have any memories to begin with. The guy who made him died in the creation process and wasn't able to give him all the information on what his mission in life was and whatnot, so he's his own free agent, and he seems to have made peace with the whole not being human backstory thing he's got going on. Next up, we've got Sunwalker, the exiled king of the sun. He is an alien made of sentient fire. Well, okay, it's not actually fire that he's made of. Technically, it's plasma, but most people think it's fire. So I'm just going to say that for the sake of convenience. His species lives in the sun, but he got exiled by his brother or uncle or something in some kind of coup. It's kind of hard to explain because his species is weird when it comes to like biology and individual personhood. Since they're all liquid plasma and fire and whatnot, they all sort of mix and unmix, and it's weird. He's tried to explain it before, but it's a bit over my head. Obviously, as a being of, living energy and fire and death and plasma, his power is being that. The only problem is that he's so hot, he would actually ignite our atmosphere and destroy all life on the planet, if not for his wife, Sun Sentinel, who is also a part of the Celestials. Her power is the ability to manipulate fire and heat and be immune to damage from it. Now, you may think there's plenty of fire guys out there, but her ability to control it is on a completely different level. That's how they actually met, Sunwalker and Sun Sentinel. She was hired to keep him from destroying all life on the planet with his earth-igniting heat, and During their assignment, they chatted, they got to know each other. Eventually, they fell in love and decided to keep doing what they were doing, but as husband and wife. Coincidentally, they're one of the first, interspecies? Not interspecies. Intercelestial body marriages. I'm not really sure what the correct term for that would be. Her outfit's cool, though, because she dresses like a knight with this giant flaming Flamberg sword, and her armor is constantly red hot from all the heat that she generates and controls. I mean, it's so hot that it almost looks like it's melting sometimes, which makes this really cool effect when her and Sunwalker get into a fight, because he's moving around the battlefield with his kind of liquid form, and she's throwing fire and all kind of stuff, and having bits of him shoot out from his liquid body, and it's a lot of fun to watch. But on the high society side of things, we've got the Plutocrat, who becomes more powerful the more money he has. And he has obscene amounts of money. Like, almost as much as Felix Silver amounts of money. He's got kind of a friendly rivalry going with Rodent Lord, because they're both essentially money-based heroes. Rodent Lord uses his money to influence people and whatnot. Plutocrat uses his to get more powerful, so they kind of trade blows now and again, but they've been on relatively good terms, at least as far as the public eye is concerned. His powers include luck manipulation, power siphoning, and manipulation of gold. You'd almost think that might have something to do with his vast riches. You'd be right. Moving on, we've got Mr. Mercurial. He's a shapeshifter, but he shapeshifts without meaning to. His body automatically adjusts to whatever situation he's in, whether he realizes it or not. So, say a car's coming his way. Without him even recognizing the car is coming for him, his body will already start to become more invulnerable. His skin will become super dense or grow scales, his bones will turn rubbery or liquid. It's not always the same thing every time, so it's kind of hard to predict what he'll shapeshift into. Even to the point where his personality seems to change, depending on what social situation he's in. This has unfortunately led to him having a bit of an identity crisis, and he's become sort of the poster boy for mental health care in the Cape community. He's been very vocal about getting help and that it's okay for people with powers to seek help, that it's okay for them to feel vulnerable. So a lot of heroes have looked to him as this beacon of being able to say, I need help. And they fight a lot of horrifying things. It's no wonder that some of them need that extra push to get back to where they need to be. He's also helped a lot of villains kind of come to grips with their deep-seated issues that may have led them to villainy and help them reform. But, so that's the current lineup of the Celestials. They've changed members a few times over the years. Had a few Marses, a few different guys named Mars. They also had Venus, who was kind of infamous before she got kicked off the team for inappropriate behavior. I'll have to tell you about that sometime because it's a doozy. Spoiler alert, Venus became pornographique after she got kicked out. But moving on to our final major player is the Doctor's Needful, also known as Emergency Response Tim. He works directly for the city as its one-man emergency response team. He's got a lot of powers, so bear with me as I go through them. He can teleport, emit a calming aura, heal others, make copies of himself, and has a danger sense that encompasses the entire city. And that's just the ones that he mentions on his website. He's probably got a lot more. He's so good at responding to disasters that sometimes he actually shows up before they happen. This has led to a somewhat mean-spirited joke where people see him and say, "Oh shit, it's Dr. Needful!" Because normally when he's there, bad stuff's about to go down. On top of all his powers, he's a skilled surgeon and, little known fact, brother of Mr. Mercurial. That's gotta be some interesting Thanksgiving dinners. Technically, he's not actually a superhero. He is just a city worker who happens to have incredible amounts of power. So, Tim Needful is his real name. It's not a pseudonym. It's not something he made up. It's just Dr. Tim Needful, which I think is really cool. He's even got an official slogan that reads, "I don't fight crime, I fight tragedy." And he's really, really good at it. People wonder a lot why we don't have more casualties when we have so many disasters on kind of a regular basis. For the most part, it's because of him. So, anybody who lives in the city needs to be really thankful for the Doctor's Needful because they have single-handedly saved thousands of people. As far as supervillains go, most of them don't really stay in the game long enough to get close to the kind of power these guys have. Now you've got a few long runners like the Red Queen, what's his name, Bosphorescence, those guys. But honestly, the biggest thing villains have going for them is sheer numbers. I think the most recent study put the supervillain to superhero ratio at around 7-1. However, the turnover rate is way higher for villains. Most people get the power trip out of their system and reform pretty quickly when they realize crime literally does not pay that well. So, holy crap, that took way longer to explain than I thought. I'm actually kinda winded from all that talking. I mean, I knew sitting here talking to you guys wasn't gonna be easy for the amount of time I was planning, but this is really tiring. I think I'm gonna do one more segment and then kinda wrap this up. I'll have to work on some kind of breathing exercise or something because this is rough. So, just kinda did the superhero spotlight to end all superhero spotlights. Let's move on to Fashion Disaster, previously known as Fashion Victim, where I critique costumes. Still not entirely settled on the segment name, so it may change again, but I'm gonna try to not keep doing that. Now here's a superhero team that you wouldn't think that I'd focus on, but bear with me. Pa and Ma Yokel look like the painting American Gothic if the two characters were younger and got superpowers. You may not have heard of them before because they're kind of on the low end of the popularity scale right now, but I love these guys. They're awesome. Apparently they found the last trickles of the Fountain of Youth on their farm in Kansas sometime back in the 1800s, and it gave them eternal youth, absolute immortality, they are literally unkillable, and super strength and other enhanced senses and whatnot. Might seem kind of weird. I love their design. I know, not everybody likes that, but not every hero has to rock the spandex. And frankly, non-traditional outfits kinda do it for me, especially when it works with what that particular cape is trying to do theme-wise. So they dress practically and comfortably, and insofar as they can be said to have a theme, they're certainly killing the Dust Bowl farmer look. Even their weapons of choice fit their overall thing. Pa Yokel uses a pitchfork, Ma Yokel uses a cast iron frying pan, and sometimes they even bring one of their immortal farm animals along to help, and it's always hilarious to watch a villain get curb stomped by an angry, unkillable cow. Now, the Yokels have never done interviews or really had much of a news presence, but from the little bit I've seen, they seem like good people. Maybe I'm biased because I grew up on a farm, but what the hell, it's my show, I can be biased if I want to be. So I give Ma and Pa Yokel a 5 out of 5 on their design. The only thing I might say is that they could vary up the color a little bit. Plaid, jeans, they're all great. Ma Yokel really rocks that dress and smock combo, but it's literally the only thing I ever see them wearing, so they could, have a change of shirt or something every once in a while. Okay, that's all for today. Keep the questions coming, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. Hopefully I won't have to dedicate entire episodes to it like this. I'm still making changes to the format, trying to see what works, but overall, I've learned a lot, and I like where this is going, so I'm probably gonna keep doing this, and hopefully you guys like listening to me. So for now, this is Mike Booth telling everyone out there to stay super.